Have you ever dreamed of having an AI that could just instantly answer questions using your own documents, but then you actually tried to build it and ran smack into a technical brick wall? Well, get ready, because Google just released a tool that takes one of the most complicated tasks in AI and makes it something you can literally do in minutes.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the old, really hard way of doing things, just so you can appreciate how big a deal this is. Then, we'll dive into Google's new solution, take a peek under the hood to see how it works, explore what's powering it, see what it means for actual projects, and finally, take a look at what's coming next.
You know, to really understand why this new tool is so revolutionary, you first have to understand the mountain that developers used to have to climb. And I mean, we're talking about a seriously steep, complex journey just to get a basic system off the ground.
So what is this mountain exactly? It's called RAG, which stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. Let's just break that down. Retrieval is all about finding the right pieces of information from your documents, and augmented generation is about using that information to give the AI a way smarter, more relevant answer. It's like giving your AI its own personal library that it has to check before it says anything. It grounds everything it knows in your facts.
Yeah, building this the old way, it's a huge project. First, you have to chop up your documents into little pieces, or chunks. Then you have to convert those chunks into a special machine language called embeddings. Then you have to build and manage a special kind of database for them, a vector database. And after all that, you have to constantly tune and maintain the whole thing. It's a lot. Each one of those steps is a headache waiting to happen.
Okay, so that was the nightmare scenario. Now, what if you could just skip that entire messy construction job and basically order a beautiful pre-built house that's ready to go? Well, that's pretty much what Google just announced.
And here it is. This is the Gemini API file search tool. So forget about all those piles of bricks and complicated blueprints. This is your high-quality, pre-built modular home. It's a completely managed system that takes that entire painful process we just walked through and just does it for you. And you can really see the difference right here. I mean, look at this. On the left, you've got the old way, this complicated machine with all these moving parts you have to build yourself. And then on the right, you've got the new file search tool. It's simple, it's elegant. You create a place to put your files, you upload them, and you start asking questions. That's it. That's the revolution. And let's be clear, this isn't some small improvement. We're talking about a more than 60% reduction in the amount of code you have to write. Think about that for a second. That's days, maybe even weeks of development time just gone. The hardest parts of the whole process, the configuration, the maintenance, they're just handled. So how in the world does Google pull this off? How does the magic actually happen? Let's pop the hood for a minute. It really comes down to a super elegant three-step process that's doing all the heavy lifting for you. It all kicks off the second you upload a file. The system just gets to work, instantly indexing it. It's automatically chopping it up, turning it into embeddings, and storing it all. Then, when you ask a question, the API does what's called a semantic search, which is a fancy way of saying it's looking for meaning, not just keywords. And it finds the most relevant bits and pieces from your documents. Finally, it bundles those pieces up with your original question, hands it all over to the Gemini model, which then gives you a super precise, fact-based answer. And the features you get right out of the box are just wow. I mean, look at this. It can handle over 300 different file types, so you're not just stuck with PDFs. You still get fine-grained control over how your data gets chunked up. You get enterprise-level stuff like metadata filtering. But you want to know the real kicker? The query embeddings are free. That is a huge cost saver, especially as your project starts to grow. Now, this incredible simplicity isn't just about some clever code. The real engine driving this whole thing is Google's newest and most powerful family of AI models, Gemini.
Okay, so take a look at this chart. It maps out all the major AI models based on their performance versus their cost. The goal, the sweet spot, is always up and to the right. More power for less money. Now, look where Gemini 2.5 Pro and Flash are sitting. They are making a massive leap forward, pushing that whole line of what's possible and giving you so much more intelligence for your dollar.
And a huge reason for that leap in performance is a new capability Google is calling thinking. You can think of it like this. It's the difference between answering a question off the top of your head versus actually pausing for a second to really think about it. The model can now take a little extra time to reason through a tough problem before it gives you an answer. And that shift from just a gut reaction to a more deliberate thought process leads to way more accurate and insightful results.
All right, so the tech is amazing, but let's get down to brass tacks. What does this actually mean for you?
Whether you're a developer in the trenches, a researcher, or a business leader making decisions.
So how does this stack up against the competition, like OpenAI's Assistance API? Well, the differences are pretty clear. I mean, just look at the file support. Gemini handles over 300 formats, Assistance handles around 20. That is a massive difference in flexibility. And then you throw in the free query embeddings and the much more granular control over chunking. For any developer trying to optimize both performance and cost, it's a huge win.
So this gives you a really clear choice of tools for whatever job you're doing. You can think of the Gemini file search as your versatile, get-it-done-fast option. It's perfect for most projects, especially when you want to move quickly. The old-school self-build approach? That's like having a full professional workshop. It's for those rare times when you need absolute total control for a huge or super specialized project.
And this is where it gets really exciting. When you think about the real-world impact, imagine your customer support team being able to deflect almost half their tickets because they have a smart bot that actually understands your documentation. Picture a researcher taking a week's worth of reading and compressing it into a single afternoon. This isn't just about making things a little more efficient. This is transformative.
So where does that leave us? This tool is an absolute game changer, no doubt about it. But it's not the final chapter. Let's talk about the road ahead, what to watch out for now, and what's coming next.
Now, like with any brand new tech, there are a couple of things to just keep in your back pocket. Right now, there's a 100 megabyte limit per file. And it's important to remember your data is stored on Google servers, so that's something to think about for security and compliance. And while asking questions is cheap, you want to keep an eye on your indexing costs and API limits as your app starts to get popular.
But man, the road ahead looks fantastic. Google is already cooking up the next wave of features. Imagine being able to search not just the text, but the images and tables that are inside your documents. How cool is that? Or having your AI's knowledge base update itself in real time as you add new information. This is really just the beginning.
The huge, massive barrier to entry for creating powerful AI that understands your own unique data, it's been completely shattered. What used to be a really complex engineering challenge is now something that pretty much anyone can do. This isn't some science fiction idea anymore. It's here right now.
Look, this isn't just another API. This is a fundamental shift. It puts the power of custom AI directly into the hands of creators, businesses, and researchers everywhere. The really hard part has been solved for you. So the only question that's left is, now that it's this easy, what are you going to create?